Hi, Kelly. It's so great to have you here today. How's it going?
It is going so well, Sandy. Thanks for having me. It is an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to have you. I love this because I get to talk to so many incredibly interesting people. And I want to hear about your story because you have been doing this a very long time. So what is your backstory? How did you get to the point where you have been doing this for 35 years as a wellness and lifestyle expert and entrepreneur?
Well, when I was 13, I wrote in my journal, I will be an exercise therapist, really not knowing exactly what that meant. I just knew I was so happy when I was exercising, running, dancing, jumping, swimming, cheerleading. I was like, wow, what are people knocking about this endorphin rush? Like, this is awesome. And I also wanted to move away from a really strong family history of heart disease, diabetes, stroke, obesity, cancer. So I had to wait till I was 17 to get started and launch my career. But I have been blessed to do so many things since then, a variety of things from owning and operating health clubs to managing corporate fitness centers. I've spoken on stages all over the world, several best-selling books, been on all the major networks, and just had the opportunity to, travel, network marketing, fitness boot camps. It has just been a blessed and awesome career. And I thought I had it all together. But then the big turning point for me came when I was married 24 years and my husband came home and he said, my commitment to our marriage is zero. And he left. And it floored me. That was my thing. Everyone's got their thing. That was my thing. And it really took me to my knees, emptied me out, and made me question everything in my life, including who I was. And I went on a 3-year healing sabbatical to really figure it out. And from that, I actually got certified as a divorce coach. So I've added to what I've done, taking a spirit, mind, body approach to physical and mental well-being to now also include relational well-being. And that's what's got me to today.
Wow. Yeah. That must be really tough if you're blindsided like that.
It happens. I mean, looking back, I can say it was a slow fade, but there was that moment where he just said, my commitment is zero. And it definitely did rock my and my children's world. They were 16 and 17 at the time, so already a pretty challenging age. And he was re-engaged within a month of our divorce and remarried a few months later. So it was just like, trigger, insult. It was just a series of unreasonably difficult things for a good year and a half after that.
And what was the one thing, if you could tell the listeners, for somebody that's is going through something like that now, what was the one thing that kept you going, got you out of bed every day?
Yeah, for me, it was my faith. I believe in something bigger than me that created this world. I mean, if I'm all that is, my intelligence, my abilities, to me, that's pretty sad. So I was able to rely on my faith, and miracles happen through the hardness, through the darkness, through the door-kicking moments and the bitterness and depression and really all the things that go along with grief. I did have glimmers of hope. I did have, pretty miraculous things that happened, whether it was just a friend that reached out for you at the right moment or, something you'd really been praying for that came to pass. So for me, it was absolutely my faith. And then there were definitely other things, but that was, if I had to pick one, that's what got me through.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's huge. And that definitely is, just trusting, like you said, that there's something bigger than us. Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually one of the scriptures that I stand on. It just says, trust God and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit and trust that your path will be made straight. So that's been one of my life scriptures the last couple years.
Nice. All right. So you're a 3-time best-selling author. So let's talk about your books. So what are your books about? What are they called?
The first one is called Mom and Dadpreneurs, and it's really about putting your family first, also knowing that you have some talents and purpose and things that are in you that you are designed to do, but you shouldn't have to do them at the expense of your family. So it's about having the right order in your life. And it tells the stories of 29 different people, whether it was traditional families, single families, blended, adoptive families, that were able to take their business home or create a new business from home that allowed them to still have executive pay and a really great lifestyle while still, raising kids without the sacrifice. That was the first one. The second one is called Passionistas. And it's basically, what would you tell your younger self, knowing what you now know? And it was intended to be an audience of millennial women. But I have been shocked at how many men and how many older people read that book and are really impacted, again, by the stories of people giving these life lessons about, if I knew then what I know now, this is what was really valuable and important. And then the third and most recent best-selling book is called Success Habits of Superachievers. And that tells the story of over 80 different people, ordinary people just like you and I, that had something unreasonably difficult happen to them, that chose to get back up again, and not just get back up, but to do something incredible with their hardness, with their difficulty, with their suffering, that is making a difference, at least in their family, their community, or even the world.
Nice. Okay, so I wrote a couple notes down because I want to go back to the first book. So you're talking about putting the family first when you're so busy. And I know for me lately, my life has been extremely chaotic because I had to coordinate 4 moves. My husband and I downsized, but I had the movers at my house 4 separate times. I work full time, and, like, that balance. And I have to say, I mean, I've been a life coach for 25 years, but you still, when you're in it, it's like, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? Because when you're in the midst of chaos, it's crazy. So what, if there was like one big tip that you have in the book for balancing that, what would you say that is?
Yeah, so my background in wellness, I remember doing my master's degree and them showing us that wellness wheel where you have, all these spokes: physical, financial, relational, professional, spiritual, financial, and it's never perfectly balanced. So just throw that out the window. And at times we are meant to go deep in a certain area. Let's say, for example, we're getting towards the age, or maybe we need to start taking care of our parents. And, when you get into the thick of that, sometimes that's all that you can manage, and walking them out that last season of their life. Or if you're a new mom and you have a baby, you're supposed to go deep in that season and not be on the front lines of, the war zone or the mission field. So there are times when we are supposed to go deep. Sometimes it's losing a job. These things that happen make us stronger. But in terms of balance, I work with a lot of divorced women, and it's a life event for a reason. Your whole life has been blown up. It feels like a hurricane came through, scattered everything all over the place, left you with this gaping, painful hole in your heart, and you're just so overwhelmed. So what I say when you're feeling out of balance is get present. If you're thinking about all the things in the past, you're spending your time just in complete regret and stress. And if you're in so much fear, you're spending too much time far ahead in the future. So get present. And even in the military, when there's chaos and things happening, they get people to breathe and calm down, because when you're not calm, that's no place to make any major life decisions. So by breathing and getting present, now you can focus on the one thing in front of you that is the thing that you can do something about, that is urgent and is important, that if you can take that one step, then you can get on to the next step. But if you get too far ahead of yourself, that's where it just gets so overwhelming. Some things can wait. Not everything is an emergency. So you need to be able to prioritize what's really urgent, what's really important, what can I delegate, what doesn't need to be done at all. I work with my clients a lot about having a to-don't list. So instead of just a to-do list, what do you need to stop? What are you doing that's sucking up your time, that's taking your good energy, that's no longer serving you? Maybe it was great in one season, but now it's not. So in these 24 hours that you get, what do you need to stop? Because there's only 4 things we can do with our time. We can start things, stop things. We can do more of things or less of things. So if you're that overwhelmed, at least in this moment, this day, which will never happen again, put things on the to-don't list, focus on the things you can do something about. And that will help you to get back, maybe not exactly balanced, but at least not having a panic attack and being able to, have some peace.
Yeah, I know. Well, I heard somebody say recently, or I may have read it, that stress is an illusion because it's really our perspective. And if you just stay focused on one thing at a time, stress doesn't need to be present. So that was what I kept thinking of when I was going through the move and having to work and, all this stuff going on. So that's really great. Okay, your second book. I love that concept about talking to your younger self. And as a matter of fact, my first book I wrote was a novel. I intended it for teenage girls. And again, I had teenage boys, I had adults, people of all ages. But the storyline is about a teenage girl, and she is in a coma, and she sees, she's like guided down this path into the woods, and she comes to this big tree, and she sees this little girl. And the little girl looks up at her, and she realizes it's herself as a 6-year-old. And the little girl looks at her and says, "How did we get this way?" So I want to hear some of the, if you could share a couple of the stories, because you said you interview, you would talk to other people, like talk a little bit more about that, because I love that whole concept that, I just really believe that when we're so innocent as a child,
yes.
Right. And then the world messes us up in so many ways, right? People tell you can't do that, or you can't do that. Or, yeah.
Yeah. But there was one of the women, she was a big league, not attorney, accountant. So she went all the way through, got her master's, all the, Series 7, this, that, corner office, worked her way up to the top. I think she had like 7 years of college. And she one day missed her daughter's recital. And then she missed another thing with her child. And then before you know it, she just kept missing stuff. And she's like, this is not worth it. It's not worth having this corner office. And even though she had all these degrees, she was unhealthy, she was overweight, she was missing things. And so she left, and she came home, and she just first started to lose weight. She's like, I just need to get healthy first, and I'll figure it out. And she got turned on to a nutrition plan, and she wound up being an advocate for that nutrition plan, has earned millions of dollars selling this nutrition plan, and she's at home and so happy. So that was one example of sometimes we think we can't change because we have so much invested. I went to school for 7 years. I worked my way to the corner office. But it was killing her, physically, emotionally, relationally. So, and she was able to replace the finances. So there's lots of stories like that. Even my story, I was a striver. I was a super achiever, producer, put your head down, make it happen. And, I have 27 certifications. I'm always learning, going to conferences. And I was home with my kids. The moment my son was born, I sold my health clubs. I never went back, but I was always very future focused. So I was never really present enjoying my kids. So that's something that was a major life lesson, along with I can't be anyone's savior was another. Also, I am a recovered perfectionist. Man, it is tough to live life as a perfectionist, and it's really a form of procrastination. And it is tough to be a perfectionist. It is tough to live with a perfectionist. So those were some of the many life lessons. And, one couple, they were both immigrants who came here with nothing. We've heard those stories where, I came over from Ireland with $200 in my pocket. I slept in my car. And there's an edge to being an immigrant where you're just gritty, where that is the thing that you are just willing to rise up and, do what it takes to have a success story for your family. And they were able to do it without sacrificing their family as well. So lots of good stories in there, lots of lessons.
I love it. I love it. And then your third book, Success Habits, and I wrote down, you spoke to 80 people. And now, did you say that these were like high achievers?
Oh my goodness. Yes. So they are all super achievers, and you would recognize many of them. And this book is done with my friend Kyle Wilson, who's been a dear friend forever. He's very well known in the personal development field. He was business partners with Jim Rohn. And so there are lots of celebrities in this book, from professional athletes to literal rock stars and, speakers, motivational people, and so on. And no one gets through this life without having something difficult happen. I mean, in the world, there's going to be suffering. There just is. And the sooner you realize that it doesn't discriminate, the less stress and the better off you'll be. And it's what you decide to do with it. So if you get knocked down the 10th time, you get up the 11th time, and you figure out how you're going to make it better, learn and not lose, be the victor, not the victim. And so these stories talk about people overcoming cancer, the death of a child. I mean, the most horrific things that you can think about. A house burns down, you have an abortion that you later regret. I mean, so many things that just happen in life that what I recommend people do is get up every day and read one story, or every night. It's a couple of pages. And when you read that story, you're like, oh my goodness, if they can do that, then I can get through my day.
Yeah.
And, even some of the professional athletes that were, cut from the team and, just dreams shattered in a moment, and that now they're more successful than they ever could have even imagined. When you look at most professional athletes, when they're cut, they wind up, getting addicted, losing all their money, lose their family. And so it's choosing to do something healthy and well with the hardness that you're given.
I love it. Was there a common theme?
I think the grittiness is definitely a common theme. So when you look at successful people, and this has been studied many times, were they born into money? No. Did they have, a Harvard education? No. Were they the first child in the family? No. I mean, they have looked at all these things to say, hey, what really makes someone successful? Did their parents not be divorced? Whatever. Everything they look at, what it comes down to is the grittiness. So they have the resilience, they have the courage to stand back up again. And a lot of people don't have that, especially my kids are in college, and I'm a little bit concerned about their generation and how quick they are to just be defeated. And, they're with social media, they're comparing themselves to everyone else who seems to have this amazing world and, this everything better than they could possibly have. And you need to be able to love yourself, to be thankful for what you have. Even if you're contending for so much more, being in gratitude for what you have is definitely a component. I would say, healthy habits. So keeping your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health as well as possible, not abusing yourself is another theme. Really knowing who you are. People that get to know themselves is really valuable. Otherwise, you're trying to be someone you're not, and you're never going to have that true joy on the inside when your identity is based on things in the world, like the car you drive or the neighborhood or the shoes or the purse or friend groups or whatever. It's really knowing your soul that makes them a super achiever.
Love it. That was very well said. And I kind of figured that was the case. Just because I'm very well read and versed on, success and everything. So yeah, that's really amazing. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience today? We've covered so much.
We have, yeah. If anyone listening has had any grief surrounding relationships that they feel are not yet resolved, whether they're in an unhappy marriage all the way to, years post breakup and they're still feeling bitter, angry, or unresolved. I do have a free Facebook group where we talk about the hard things. We support and encourage each other. We laugh. So it's just a great community that I welcome anyone to come to. It's called Intentionally Fabulous. And that's the goal, to be intentional about being fabulous. And I pour into that page every single day. And there's always videos and just encouraging things there. So anyone that is for women only are welcome to join there. If they want to get a free copy of my book, they can go to Kelli with an I, Calabrese.com. And the Success Habits of Super Achievers ebook is available to anyone there. So they're welcome to get that. And I guess to wrap it up, I would say the lens that I look through life with is to let love win. So that's always my goal. That's my barometer. That's my peace measure, is how can I go throughout my day and really let love win?
I love that. Let love win. I love it. Well, I will make sure that I reiterate your Facebook group and your website, and that they can get a free copy of your digital version of your book. That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And this has been so great. And it's been just such an honor to talk to you and learn more about what you're doing. And thank you for being there in the world and what you're doing.
Oh, Well, thank you, then. Thank you for bringing Happiness Solved to the world. The world certainly needs more joy and more happiness. So thank you for that.
Oh, of course. You take care. Thank you, Kelli.
Thank you.